Spring had always been my favorite season. The trees blossomed, the air felt lighter, and the long winter seemed like a distant memory. But that year, spring brought something I never expected, something that would haunt me for the rest of my life. I had left my previous home in search of a fresh start. My old neighborhood had been suffocating, filled with memories I wanted to escape. Memories of long nights spent feeling unsafe, of a lingering presence I could never quite confirm. I convinced myself it was paranoia, that I was overreacting. But deep down, I knew I needed to leave. So I moved to a small town in the Midwest, the kind of place where everyone knew each other. It was late March and the days were finally warming up. My new apartment on the outskirts of town felt like a haven. It was small but cozy, nestled near a wooded area that provided a serene view. I was determined to rebuild my sense of security, to finally enjoy the solitude I had always wanted. The first few weeks passed uneventfully. I went to work, came home, and spent my evenings reading on my balcony, watching the sun set behind the trees. Everything was peaceful. It was a Friday evening, and I was sitting outside with a cup of tea, enjoying the cool air. The sky was a deep shade of blue, stars barely visible through the haze of city lights. The first few weeks in my new apartment were peaceful. I enjoyed the quiet streets, the friendly neighbors, and the sense of safety that came with living in a small town. My daily routine consisted of morning jogs through the nearby park, evenings spent reading on my balcony, and lazy weekends exploring the cafes and shops downtown. Spring had transformed the town into something out of a postcard. Cherry blossoms lined the sidewalks, and the fresh scent of rain lingered in the air. Everything felt new, promising, and full of life. But sometimes at night, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching me. Maybe it was just paranoia from living alone for the first time. Or maybe it was something more. Over the next few days, my sense of unease grew stronger. The small-town charm that had once felt inviting now seemed eerily quiet, almost too quiet. Every time I stepped outside, I felt as if unseen eyes were following me, though I never caught anyone staring. Then, little things started happening that I couldn't explain. One morning, I found my mailbox open, even though I was certain I had closed it the night before. Another night, I heard footsteps outside my apartment door, but when I looked through the peephole, no one was there. And then there were the phone calls, late at night, from an unknown number. No one spoke on the other end, just silence. I told myself it was all coincidences, that I was overthinking everything. Then one evening, as I was coming home from work, I saw something that shattered any illusion of safety I had left. I was unlocking my door when I noticed a small piece of paper, folded neatly, tucked into the handle. My hands trembled as I unfolded it. It was a simple message, written in uneven, almost childlike handwriting. "I see you." My stomach twisted. I looked around the hallway, but it was empty. The only sound was the faint buzzing of the overhead light. I rushed inside, locked the door, and checked every window, every closet. Nothing was out of place. But I couldn't shake the feeling that someone had been in my space, close enough to leave that note. That night, I barely slept. The next few days were unbearable. I couldn't focus at work, couldn't relax at home. I told myself I was overreacting, that it was probably a prank. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. Then one night, as I was brushing my teeth, I looked up at the bathroom mirror and saw something that made my blood turn to ice. A reflection, a face, in the window behind me. I spun around, but by the time I got to the window, he was gone. I finally called the police. An officer came to my apartment, took my statement, and did a quick patrol of the area. But there was nothing they could do. "Probably just a prank," the officer said. "Let us know if anything else happens." That wasn't reassuring. I installed new locks, bought security cameras, and started carrying pepper spray. But no matter what I did, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. And I was right. A week later, I came home late. As soon as I stepped inside, I knew something was wrong. The air felt different, heavy, like someone had been there. I checked the living room, the bedroom, nothing seemed out of place. Then I saw it. The closet door. It was open, just a crack. My breath caught in my throat. I had not left it open. Heart pounding, I grabbed the nearest thing I could use as a weapon, a heavy glass vase, and slowly approached. With one quick motion, I yanked the door open. Nothing. just an empty closet, but the feeling didn't go away. And then I saw it, a footprint on the floor, one that didn't belong to me. That was the moment I knew I wasn't safe. I packed a bag, booked a hotel, and called the police again. This time, they took it seriously. They checked my security footage, and there he was, a man standing outside my apartment at 3 a.m., watching my window, waiting. They increased patrols in the area, but they never caught him. I moved out 2 weeks later, left the apartment, the town, everything behind. For a while, I thought I was free. But the fear never really left me. Every time I hear an unexpected noise at night, every time I see a shadow move in my peripheral vision, I wonder, is he still watching? Months later, in a new city, in a new apartment, I finally started to feel safe again. But the experience had changed me. I no longer dismissed uneasy feelings as paranoia. I trusted my instincts, stayed vigilant, and took every precaution I once thought was unnecessary. I had learned to pay attention to the people around me, to small changes in my environment, to that gut feeling that something was off. I installed better security, always double-checked my locks, and never ignored the sense of being watched. Because I knew now, sometimes fear is justified. Sometimes the danger is real. The past still lingered in my mind, but it no longer controlled me. I wasn't running anymore. I was prepared. Spring in Skagit Valley was something I had always wanted to capture through my lens. The vast fields of tulips, stretching endlessly in vibrant colors, seemed almost too perfect to be real. As a freelance photographer, I had traveled across the country, but there was something about this place in springtime that felt different. Serene, untouched, a dreamlike landscape waiting to be immortalized in my photos. I arrived in late March, just as the festival season was beginning. I had booked a small cabin outside the main town, preferring solitude over the bustling crowds. With my camera gear packed, I set out early in the morning, ready to capture the golden light washing over the fields. The fresh scent of flowers mixed with the crisp spring air, and for a moment, I felt truly at peace. The first few days went by without incident. I wandered the fields at sunrise and sunset, capturing the way the light played with the colors of the tulips. Every shot was breathtaking. Warm hues of orange, red, and yellow blending into a natural masterpiece. On the third morning, I decided to explore a more secluded area, away from the designated festival routes. There were no tourists, no chatter, just the wind rustling through the fields. It was exactly the kind of solitude I craved for my work. I spent hours taking photos, adjusting my angles, switching lenses, getting lost in my craft. But when I reviewed the images on my camera's LCD screen, my stomach tightened. In the middle of every frame, slightly out of focus, was a little girl in a white dress. I frowned, scrolling through the photos. The girl was there in each shot, sometimes standing far in the distance, other times closer, as if she had been moving through the fields. Her face was never clear, always slightly blurred, but the white dress was unmistakable. I looked around. The field was empty. There was no sign of a child, no small footprints in the soil, no sound other than the wind. It made no sense. Maybe she was just a festival goer who had wandered into my shots, I reasoned. Maybe I was too focused on my camera settings to notice her. Still, a strange unease settled in my chest. I deleted the photos and took a new set, double-checking my surroundings this time. But when I checked my screen again, she was still there. That evening, I returned to my cabin and uploaded the photos onto my laptop, hoping a bigger screen would reveal some logical explanation. Maybe it was a glitch, a trick of the light, something that could be explained away. But the more I examined them, the more unsettling it became. The girl appeared in different places in each frame, as if she had been moving with me. Some images showed her partially hidden behind tulips, while in others, she was standing outright in the open field. And then I noticed something else. In one of the shots, she was facing the camera. I slammed my laptop shut, a cold sweat breaking over my skin. This wasn't normal, and I needed to find out why. The next morning, I went into town and struck up a conversation with an elderly woman who ran a small antique store. Casually, I asked if the festival had any traditions involving children dressed in white. She frowned. "Not that I know of," she said. "Why do you ask?" I hesitated, then showed her one of the less eerie photos, just the silhouette of the girl in the distance. The woman's face paled. "Where did you take this?" she asked, her voice quieter now. "Just past the main festival area," I replied, "near the older fields." She exhaled sharply. "You shouldn't go there alone." I pressed her for details, but she simply shook her head. "Some places have history, and some things should be left alone." Her words stayed with me for the rest of the day. Despite the unease gnawing at me, I had to go back. I needed to prove to myself that it was all in my head. I returned to the same secluded field, this time hyper-aware of my surroundings. I took slow, deliberate shots, constantly checking my screen. Nothing. No girl. No strange figures. Just tulips and sky. Relieved, I turned to leave. And then, just as I was about to step off the dirt path, I heard it. A soft, childlike giggle, right behind me. I whipped around, camera raised, snapping a photo in pure instinct. My breath caught in my throat as I scanned the field. Nothing. I checked my screen, my hands trembling. The image showed the tulip field, golden in the evening light, and standing right behind me, so close I should have felt her presence, was the girl in white. She was staring directly at me. That night, I packed my bags and left. I didn't tell anyone why. I didn't sleep. I drove through the night, not stopping until I was miles away from that place. I deleted every photo, formatted my memory card, and told myself it was all in my head. But deep down, I knew the truth. I hadn't seen her, but she had seen me.